gosh, 1988, did have a manager and agent, and they submitted me for the role of Alice, but they would not audition me. But I had, the 80s makeup and the virgin blonde hair and all of this, I did more cheerleader roles and that sort of thing. So they wouldn't audition me. But about a month later, I finally got to audition, and Annette Benson, who cast Nightmare 4, and she also cast several of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, tells me the story that they actually, hello? There's a ghost in my microphone. Okay, it's a poltergeist. Anyway, so about a month goes by and I get a call and I got an audition, and Annette Benson said that what happened is that they seriously auditioned like hundreds of actresses for the role of Alice. Couldn't find her, so they went through the reject pile, which I proudly stood in, and I had an opportunity to audition for Alice. And I had one callback, and I went like no makeup and dirty hair, and I wore my worst color is pale yellow. So if you ever want to buy me clothes, just make sure it's not pale yellow. And auditioned, and then I had a callback on a Friday. I got married on that Sunday. Yes, it was a planned wedding with 125 people. You were at the callback, and I went, oh, Rennie likes blondes.
Yeah, and you had this ring that looked like
a large engagement ring,
she
yes.
looks like she's 12, and I'm sitting next to her, and I'm like, holy mother of God. It's like, are you married? She's like, I'm getting married.
In 2 days. Anyway, so I'm on my honeymoon, and I got a call that I had gotten the role of Alice. So there you go. And I had to leave. Thank you. And I had to leave my honeymoon early. 5 days in out of the 10. My now ex-husband was not happy about that. I'm like, dude, this is how the industry works. Okay. So anyway, he was in the industry. That's my story. I'm taking that all the time.
I know my story is not nearly as good.
Hello.
Okay. So yeah, my story's not nearly as good. It's the same thing. You have an agent and you're like, oh please, just like an audition would be fabulous. So you finally get one, and I remember auditioning. And I do remember the callback specifically because I remember Rennie Harlan, who was really up and coming and quite progressive. Remember he filmed us? And I was like, callback, and we were in the room, and he was on a handheld, and he was like, we were doing a scene, and he was filming us, and I just thought, that was really different, because that doesn't happen. I mean, you might be put on a little videotape, but he had like a big, he was doing it, and I was like, wow.
Was Tuesday in the room with you?
I think she might have been.
I read the Tuesday.
I just remember you because of your ring.
The what? The scene with we have matching luggage scene.
Yes. Okay.
She
Yeah.
was first cast because they needed to replace Patricia Arquette. So Tuesday was actually cast first. Hi. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I remember that, and then when I did get the part, I specifically also remember Tuesday had blonde hair, Lisa had blonde hair, and I had blonde hair. And so they kind of had to sit us down and say, look, we got to dye your hair. And I was like, I don't think I can dye my hair because I'm on the show, and I got to go back, and I like my trademark for my hair, big puffy hair in the 80s. So I did a wig, you dyed your hair, and Tuesday stayed blonde. So.
Let's see. I think we all read for Nancy, right? Was that the initial? The initial audition was all the girls read for Nancy, and then at the callback, you and I read together.
Yeah, like this.
Exactly. We sat down like this, and we on the couch, and we read, and I think we involved. I don't even remember. Wes put us together.
I went like this.
She did that, and that went into the movie.
That's why I got the part.
She did.
I think I made the love come alive for Wes.
You totally did. And so she did many things in the audition that ended up in the film. You did with all kinds of cool things, and then
The cool thing about the audition was that Wes told us we had a part there.
in the room, like that never happened. I think that he had decided it was us probably from the initial auditions because there were other people still in the waiting room.
I think so.
Yeah, and we were just like,
We were walking out.
like,
Don't
oh.
worry. No, I think we were last.
Yeah, we
I
probably
don't
were
think
last.
they.
I don't think
They weren't.
they weren't that many. But so yeah, but they pulled us in the room and it was really.
This was before Score was very much of a big deal, so it was really low down.
Yeah.
The audition, the office was in the worst area of Hollywood.
It was some nasty little
Like
room.
really sketchy drug addicts outside. And I wish I remember thinking I had a really bad car. I had a terrible little beat up car, but I was even afraid of kids getting stolen. And I remember thinking I wish I had the club because they had just come out that club.
Oh,
Like,
God.
why did I buy the club? So I could audition for Nightmare on Elm Street.
I clubbed my car when we did that. I loved my club. Yeah, I could afford the club.
Amanda, you know, had been in so many things. Like, she was a medic, and she taught me so much.
We had so much fun on the set. We would sit in between takes and do the crossword puzzle. Remember that on the steps to your dressing room? We would just do that between every take, covered in blood and all weird looking. And we would just sit there and do the crossword puzzle.
Yeah.
That was super fun.
So on the first one, we all know Wes is a legend. Talk about working with him. What was it like to see him behind the scenes and how his mind worked?
Let's see. I did work with Wes a lot now that we were just celebrating their anniversary of his death last week. I know, it's not going to go on.
Hello. I think the thing I took away from Wes, first of all, he's an incredibly funny person, so I think he felt uncomfortable having relationships with a lot of people. I mean, he was a distant person, and the way that he broke through that always was through jokes and humor, and playing practical jokes, or just trying to get you, double entendres and funny things to say all the time. And now that I've been talking to a lot of people about him, he was also kind of a wild man, And if my mother and father-in-law especially spent a lot of time with Wes, and he was wild, and he had wild parties. He loved being around wild people, and so this dichotomy that everyone thinks that he's this kind of straight-laced and very intellectual man isn't actually really like the whole picture. Because the more I talk to people, I'm like, he did what? I'm like, it was crazy. And my husband spent a lot of time in Haiti and the Dominican Republic with him, and it was just a blast all the time. And Marianne Madalena, the producer that he worked with for over like 20 movies, just confirmed with me, like every night was fun. That was part of his whole way of working, was to make people relax, making sure they could give their best performance. And so, that's a part of Wes that I wish I had actually enjoyed a little bit more, because with me, he was always very serious, always very, I can't really describe the relationship, but I never knew that side of him, and I've learned a lot about it last year.
Amanda, talk about filming your character's destiny.
Let's see. I think most of you probably know so much about this. There was a small bedroom built on basically like a rotisserie spit in a huge soundstage, and there were grips literally like turned to crank, and the room went around, and everything was nailed down and glued down. And we shot it very slowly and methodically, because there was kind of only one take in each increment, because once the blood was in, you couldn't really go back and redo things. And so it was challenging and fun and different, because obviously being in this room that went around, and it was based on the famous American in Paris, I think, the Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly dance sequence with the room that spins around. I don't know if it was I'm not sure. And so it was very exciting. It was a little tedious. I got very disoriented and was like, oh my God, I didn't handle it very well, I have to say. Like, I wish I could could say like it was amazing and I was such a champ, but I kind of like freaked out halfway through. But we finished it, and it was grueling to shoot, and I think part of why that scene is so horrific is it goes on forever, and you're watching a 14-year-old girl get murdered for like 20 minutes. But it was actually really difficult to film, and I think because there's no it was all practical effects, you can feel that. I think it adds to some of the, emotional response that people have to that scene, because it was actually, there was no CGI, it was just us and some people throwing blood through a window. And
Don't you think it's I think it's such a famous scene, and it's the most famous death scene in my mind, because it showed Wes in a kind of a violence and a depravity that I think is really his mark. His Last House on the Left and his early films, it's kind of like the one scene that kind of gets transformed into this Nightmare on Elm Street, which is a totally different kind of movie, but that scene to me always stands apart. He just went somewhere really dark.
yeah, I agree.
The other ones, like even Rod getting hung in the prison and Glenn dying in the bed, there's kind of lightheartedness to it. Like, I don't know, there was some, they didn't have that depth. It was super over the top. Yeah, it wasn't like that.
Yeah, it was thrilling.
Yeah, it was really
Legitimately scary.
Yeah, I so remember walking. My best friend, we watched that movie.
Right, with your knees gleefully up around your ears. Yeah.
No, wait, I know. How do you watch horror movies? What's your
Yes.
Mine's like this.
I know mine. I'm like, yes. Oh, of course you are. I am literally like this. Cool. Yeah. I do one hand over my ear and one over my eye, so I diminish all the frightening coming at me. And if I can't get it, I get my leg up to my ear, and I watch with my bad eye, so I don't actually see the whole thing. I have many ways, but it's usually contorted.
I'm a lot of fun. And was it Friday the 13th that I screamed so much? Heather goes, I am never sitting next to you at a horror movie again.
Don't go with this.
She's scared of everything.
Like the next day, creaking of the door, you know it's just like a lead up to the real thing, and Mandy's
I went to the premiere of Heather's movie, and I screamed through the whole thing.
And I'm like, it's
and
not
I could
scary
hear
yet.
screaming the whole time. I'm like, who the hell is screaming and ruining the movie? I was like hysterical. I was just reminded why I don't go to the movies with you.
So, Brooke, your character also had a memorable death. Talk about some of the makeup that you went through with that.
First of all, I watch like scary movies, so I watch the entire movie, and I make my peeking hole so I can only see the person's face, so I can't see anything. And I'm like, I'm fine, I'm good. But my husband looks over and he goes, oh my god, where are we going? Yeah, so I just happened to get lucky, crazy death. I had nothing to do with that. So my whole process of beginning to end, I worked with an amazing makeup artist named Screaming Mad George. Crazy little Asian, 4 feet tall, with red and purple and orange hair, and he just laughed at me. I'm like, I'm stuck. This is not funny.
I didn't get that laugh.
But he did. He had that laugh. It was like, I had a heart. I know, right? It's so contagious, and he was lovely. But mine took about 3 weeks. I had a lot of body casts and a lot of molds to do. A lot of people don't know in the very end when I get crushed and they show the reveal of the 2 cockroaches. I'm in one of the cockroaches, the costume. And they have like huge cables running behind my back, and they were working the head, but I was working the whole body. So if you look really close, you can see I had gloved, like latex gloves on, and they were all airbrushed, like the shell color, so they were kind of see them, which is kind of funny. But it was fascinating. It was really fun.